What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 87. We are keeping the streak going, 87 weeks in a row. We are here with Liam Gibson. How you doing, my man?
Very well, Eddie. Thank you so much for having me on the show. This is such a great show, and I'm so excited to get on.
Well, thanks.
So let's do it.
You know, once I'm telling all the people we're doing the remote shows with, once we get, once everything opens up again, I'll have you in, and we'll do the wings and we'll do all the crazy stuff. But for now, I appreciate you doing the remote thing with me, man. Thanks so much.
I very much like to try that. What's your vegetarian menu like?
Also, yeah, for sure. So we actually do vegan cauliflower wings. So when the vegetarians come in, and yeah, so same sauces. I mean, they're all the buffalo has butter, so obviously we don't do that. But we've got a whole gauntlet of vegan cauliflower wings for you to do as well. Yeah.
Cool. Well, it's all about the sauces. So.
Yeah, for sure. You know, the funny thing is, I have a lot of vegetarian and vegan customers here, and
yeah,
I was looking for some options, and then the cauliflower thing popped up here and there, and I said, okay, I'm going to try that. So we tried that and we tweaked it, and it's really good. And actually it's selling so well that we get a lot of meat eaters that are coming in just for the cauliflower wings, man.
Oh, nice.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
for sure.
You just change things up. People try different stuff. I mean, we now got all this whatever you want to call it, next generation meat, or in Chinese, Weilai Rou, all these kind of
what is it, Beyond Burger and
Beyond Meat
Omniport.
Burger, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, this stuff's all taking off now. So
no, it's really cool.
Options.
I've actually got quite a few. I've had chefs on, vegetarian, vegan chefs, and yeah, they're doing some good food, man. So yeah, definitely looking into more of that stuff. Yeah, I love it.
Great.
I just like good food, man. I just like good food,
Good food's fun. I love cooking Indian food. That's my favorite.
Okay.
Being a vegetarian, it's yeah. So I'm often not as much as you, obviously, but I love to get in the kitchen, chop up, make some curries. It's so much fun. So podcasting and cooking, these two things we love together. I mean, and Eddie, you've been doing it a lot longer than I have, like 87 weeks in a row. It's really punching it. I mean. Yeah. How is this the first time you've had to go remote like this for your show? Is that
so? I mean, the last couple of weeks, obviously, we've done it remote, but yeah, this is the first time. So we were just chatting about it. That I'm struggling a little bit. Like, I got a really cool setup, and I'm like binging on all these YouTube videos, and it's like virtual audio cables and stuff like that. And I'm almost there, but I'm still missing something. So I'm gonna have to get some tips from you on that one, man.
No. Yeah, I'm happy to. I'll share with you my virtual audio cable and stuff like that. I haven't got the visual part of it as set up as you.
Okay.
I've got Logitech Brio.
That's a good camera.
It's a
4K camera.
Yours?
So what I'm using, I have right now. I'm using an AverMedia 4K webcam as well. Yeah. But I actually for the actual, when we do the live show, I have this as a side cam, and I have a little Sony sort of it looks like a GoPro, but it's just this little Sony cam. It's got like a 1-inch sensor. It's really nice, and that plugs into a capture card. So you can use basically with a capture card, you can use any camera. Like, you can have like a big DSLR, plug it into a capture card, and then so you can use that. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. So I got that side. I mean, I got that part kind of down, and even with the thing I'm using,
very well done. Yeah, I haven't tried a capture card. That sounds great. And you've also got the switchboard thing.
I do. I've got
about that. It's kind of like a Nintendo kind of. You just press some buttons and it'll sort of flicks things around on OBS. Is that right?
This is it right here. Actually,
great. So let's check it out. Yeah.
It's not plugged in, right? But it's an OBS. Sorry, it's a Elgato Stream Deck. So what this does is, when you plug it in, you can just kind of pull up whatever you want in OBS. Like, let's say I'll have an old picture of you or something. I'll just kind of like hit the button, it'll pop up, and then we'll have it set up to where us talking will be in the bottom corner, and we'll be talking about the picture, stuff like that. So this thing is amazing. But again, when we're using Zoom, it's I'm a sort of a noob on Zoom, so it's
not everyone has a Jamie, right? But this is like the next best thing, I guess.
This is it, man. This is it. This is my Jamie right here, man. So when it's like, Jamie, pull something up, pull up that photo, I'm like, oh, here you go, bam. Yeah,
nice.
So that thing has been that's helped me so much, and so I started really with an old GoPro. And it was funny because I was doing the shows, and once in a while the camera would just turn off. So if you go back to like episode, I think 1 to 10, in there. The camera, the camera turns off once in a while. And I actually got this Stream Deck because I needed to pull up a different screen while I had someone change the battery on my old GoPro.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's just like,
okay.
Instead of it just being black and saying no signal, right? So it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy, nice. Man.
Yeah, piecing it together though. But this is how you learn the craft, right? It's everything's a lesson, and you figure out how it all fits together. So you're telling me that you've got your own podcast as well. I do.
You're around episode 30. You're saying, right?
Roughly. That's right.
Okay. Yep. So maybe you could tell me a little bit about your own podcast. Like,
sure.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Yeah, mine's called Policy People Podcast.
Okay, beautiful.
And so what is that all about? Well, it's an extension of my platform, which is Policy People. It will one day become a platform. That's my ambition.
Okay, sure.
Sense of a very niche social media platform built for think tank experts. Actually, that's like the target niche user base.
Beautiful.
However, at this point, it's a pod letter, right? Like a podcast plus newsletter.
Okay, that's
combined.
Great. That's
great. Yeah. So it started out as a newsletter about 12 months ago. We're coming up to our 1-year mark.
Congratulations. Happy anniversary.
Thank you. Yeah, well, we're at about 6,000 subscribers, so it's not too bad.
That's great.
It's slowly growing. Beautiful. Now, most of those signed on for the newsletter, but I'm trying to grow the podcast listener base now. Okay. So averaging, something between 100 to 200 downloads an episode at the moment. It's not quite as crash hard as what I'd expect, but this is what I'm found. I'm sure you can give me more insights into how to grow the show. Exactly, right?
It's definitely
really
tough.
Hard.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I like. This was my misconception. This was my assumption, right?
Yeah.
Was that if I built this newsletter list, like this big subscribe list for my newsletter, and then I started pushing out episodes through the newsletter, that people would just listen to it, and I would soon, reach over 1,000 downloads per episode within a few weeks. Well, not at all. Like, so I'm using Substack, which is just so easy to use, especially if you're not technical. So that's been really simple.
Beautiful.
But I just go into the Substack metrics, and what it tells me is, you sent this podcast episode out through your newsletter to 6,000 subscribers, and about 20% opened it, and then about 89 people downloaded the episode. Just
it's tough,
looking at that drop off. But that's it. I mean, this is the thing with podcasts. It's all word of mouth. It's all referrals from friends, and just slowly going the way. So, like, have you, other than just sheer persistence, have you found anything else that has helped you grow organically?
It's hard, man. It's definitely hard. Like, so what I do is I do it live on YouTube, right?
Mm-hmm.
We use Facebook a little bit, and then we try to get the people from Facebook to YouTube, right? And what I do is at the end, I strip the audio, and then I put it on. So I don't know if it's an entrepreneur sort of a website called AppSumo. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Oh yeah, I know AppSumo.
You know AppSumo. So I buy a lot of stuff. That's like my shopping spree, man. I go to AppSumo, and you buy lifetime deals. So I went to AppSumo, and there was this thing called pod.co, right? So I think it paid like $80 for a lifetime. And so I bought that. And what that did was I take my audio and I put it up there, and I get everything kind of organized and stuff. And they kind of upload it to everywhere. Like, they put it on like what is it, iTunes and Google and Spotify and all that stuff. So that was kind of like an afterthought. Like, the main thing for me was doing like the video one on YouTube. So that's been okay. It's not been, again, I'm putting almost pretty much zero effort into that. And it's showing. Like, definitely like the YouTube side, that's growing pretty well. And something for YouTube that helps is when you do something called YouTube Shorts. It's kind of like a TikTok, right? So TikTok is it's like short video. I mean,
TikTok. Yeah.
It's exactly it. So YouTube Shorts, and so those get a lot more views, and they kind of go viral. And if you do vertical format and you do it under a minute, and you put hashtag shorts in either the title or the description, they'll put it in a special section called like the shorts section. and then that gets more views. And so that's pretty cool. But I mean, it has to be under a minute. So yeah, I mean, I was working on that a lot until, until a couple of weeks ago, and it's been kind of crazy since then. But it's persistent for sure. And I think just have some cool conversations. I mean, like we were both talking about Joe Rogan. I'm a huge Joe Rogan fan, and yeah, one of the reasons I started this was because with the restaurant, you get to meet so many cool people, and like everyone has a really cool story, and some of them I just want to share them, man. So yeah, that's why we started. Yeah,
it's perfect to have the studio in your restaurant. I mean, this is exactly what a podcast is. It's a place where people meet and they talk, and that's exactly what a restaurant is. So ta-da, you've got the best of both worlds in one spot.
And usually we can eat, right? So we'll sit, we'll eat, we'll have a couple of drinks. Some people want wine, some people don't drink, some people don't eat. We do the spicing, we do whatever the, makes the person comfortable. And the funny thing is most people will talk at the beginning before we're on camera. They're like, I'm very nervous. They can be like professional MMA. I'm a big UFC fan, like MMA fan. So they could be like professional MMA fighters that fight in a steel cage, in like an octagon in front of 30,000 people. But they're like, ooh, I'm a little bit nervous about the wings. I'm like, really? It's crazy. It's crazy. But I'm like, I'm kind of nervous talking to you because I'm a fan. I'm trying not to fanboy out here a little bit. So, so it's pretty cool. Yeah. So we got a pretty good mix of people, and the good thing is we can feed people, and it's cool because customers come by and they're like, whoa, what is this? It's pretty cool. Like usually we'll do it like on a Tuesday or a Wednesday night at dinner time on a slow night. And it's actually taken a slow night and making it a really busy night. So Wednesdays, I mean, obviously level 3, nothing's happening right now. But Wednesdays were the slowest nights of the week. So that's why we started with wings. That's why I said, I'm going to take this little piece of the restaurant. I'm going to make a little podcast out of it, and we'll see how it goes. And then, you have the lights, the big lights flashing down, and people kind of come around. They walk by. Tiamu is for some reason really slow on Wednesday, but people walk by, they see the lights, they come in and they're like, what's going on here? And we're like, oh, we're doing a podcast. And they're like, live? We're like, yeah. And like, wow, it's cool. Oh, I've never been to this restaurant. And we're like, well, we have half price wings on Wednesday. So they're just like, wow, okay, well, let me try some wings. Let's come and eat. So they're like, oh, that's cool. Oh, you guys got good beer. Oh, let's have a beer. Oh, you know what? Let's just have dinner. So it's been pretty good.
One thing leads to the other. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Eddie, when I first discovered your podcast, it was the first thought that hit me. I was like, this is genius. So many podcasters struggle to monetize their shows, right?
Exactly.
What I thought from the get-go is like, no matter whether or not you earn ad revenue one day or not, you will benefit from this just exactly by having a restaurant. So the funny thing about that is we are monetized, but I think it's like I haven't been paid anything yet. I think it's probably really?
I think it's like $20 or $30 or something US sitting there. That's I don't know how to.
I got to dig in deeper. Like, how did you get into that? Was it through Anchor FM, or was it like did you just seek out sponsors yourself?
Just with YouTube, that's the YouTube sort of ad.
Oh, you've already gotten to that point.
Yeah,
but see, I don't really follow you on YouTube or,
no problem,
like I just follow you on Facebook actually. That's like how I
that's cool.
Your show.
No, that's cool.
So your YouTube account is already
the YouTube one is. I mean, it's not
well done.
It's not that big, but it's it's enough to be monetized. But again, there's not much going on. Yeah. But I mean, like you get like, as a few months ago. This one Japanese guy was walking by and he saw the show. He popped his head in the window. He's like, what's going on? And I'm like, yeah, we're just doing a live podcast. And he's like, oh, he gave me his card. He's like one of the head guys of Sony. He's like, hey, we want to do something. I'm like, so things like that. If you kind of put yourself out there, people will look at it. Sure. Right now, obviously nothing's happening, but also there's a company called Sabine Tech. It's like, they have this little microphone, a Bluetooth mic called Smart Mic Plus. And they came in, they watched the show, and they're like, hey, let's do something. So yeah, slowly, it's getting there. It's getting there. I mean, the main thing was for me to just really to share the stories of people doing cool stuff, man, because, you hear these stories. And for me, I've been doing this restaurant. We started from a night market, and we grew it up until what it is now, which is it's pretty solid. It's a lot of work. It took me about 14 years, right? So when you're stable and you're kind of like, I don't want to say one of the old dogs, but they're like, oh, you've been there for a while. The news people don't care. they're just like, oh, that they want like the new place that just opened down the street. Everybody's going there, like the old dog that's been there for a while. So they don't really care anymore. I think when you're new, they're like, everybody's here and blah, blah, blah. But after, nobody really cares. I talked to this, a French guy down the street that has a wine importer, and he's been there for like 15 or 20 years.
Oh, that
sommelier,
guy,
sommelier.
I know that guy. Well, I know that business. I used to live in Taiwan.
So it's been there for so long, and we get wine from him. And I was saying we'll do a show and stuff, and he's like, yeah, that'd be great, because again, he's like, I've been here for 20 years. Nobody wants to interview me anymore. It's like, oh shoot, that's kind of crazy. I know the feeling. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, but that's a shame, because it is the old timers, the people who've stuck around, the people who've survived, who have the best stories to share. So
I agree 100%, man. Some good stories. Yeah. Speaking of that, man, what is your story? What brought you here originally?
Wow, that's a
long one, I'm sure. Yeah. We got time. We got time.
Well, okay, so the strange thing was, I was finishing my degree in like media production, and one of the final projects for my final year, this is undergrad projects, was to write a short movie script. My movie script happened to be, because I was, I was learning Japanese at the time, not Chinese, but I was very sure that Asia was where I wanted to go. And I was like, okay, I want to write a movie script, this short for this project, about like a spy getting out of China. And my professor liked it and gave me great marks and stuff, and I thought nothing of it. But then it was so surreal, because the next year I graduated, and some of the stuff I went through when I went to China was like eerily similar to what I had written in this.
Oh, really? Wow.
Script.
Sign.
Yes.
Okay.
So I was like, in hindsight, I was like, what was that assignment all about? Not that I was a spy or anything, but there was certain pieces, certain scenes in the script that I had written that were
beautiful,
almost like a complete copy. So what on earth was going on there? Basically, I was like, okay, well, I want to go to Asia. That's what I want to my future is. And sometimes people are like, well, what exactly does that mean? Like,
you got this feeling. You have a feeling, right?
Just have a feeling. I'm sure you can relate. Exactly. There's something very deep in your stomach, right?
Yeah.
And it's just pulling me in this direction. And I'd been to China before. I'd never been to Taiwan. So this is Taiwan's like the last part of this story. But like, I'd been to China several times. I've been to like the Shanghai World Expo. I'd like traveled there as a backpacker on my gap year for 3 months.
Oh, wow.
Through like, and through like Yunnan and Sichuan, and just throughout the country, Dongbei and different places. And I was like, okay, this is fantastic. I also went to India. I went to a few other countries in Asia.
Oh, wow.
But I really felt like at that time, this was like 2013, 2012, like people were still, in the terms of China, like the perspective was still, that Hu Jintao era, right? It was slowly opening up. Things are going to keep getting better, liberalizing, etc. So, I was like, okay, I'd heard of some other friends who'd gone to Shanghai and had a fantastic time and starting their own businesses. I'm like, well, that's where I want to go. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, sounds great.
So I just started. I was like, well, how am I going to get started? Well, everyone gets started teaching English. Okay, I'll just do that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course,
so
everybody.
I take some Skype interviews. Zoom wasn't around then, but it was Skype interview time. And like there were all these offers from all these different schools. Yeah. And the one that paid the highest was in Zhengzhou, right?
Okay.
And
gotta make the money, baby.
In Henan, right? I was like, well, okay, let's go there. Let's go to Zhengzhou, and they've got an apartment set up for me. Okay, let's jump on that. And I was going to be the first foreign teacher there, the only foreign teacher, and it was a new school, new kindergarten. I was like, okay, let's go. So packed my bags, jumped on the plane, landed in Zhengzhou, and okay, fantastic. And I did ask them in the interview, do I need a work visa, work permit?
Okay.
They were like, no, it's all taken care of. I'm like, oh, great. Okay. So I arrived, and like the first month I'm on my tourist visa, second month still on my tourist visa. I start asking the manager, I'm like, hey, listen, when can I get my work visa? They're like, oh yeah, go to Hong Kong, and so get on a plane, fly to Hong Kong, cross the border, do that thing, and then come back again. And they're like, oh yeah, we'll get your visa soon, next month. And another couple of months go by, and I'm almost there 6 months now, and I'm starting to get a bit like, what is going on with this visa?
Because we're not used to that stuff. Yeah.
I'm just like,
what? Yeah.
I'm just such a newbie. I had like no idea. So then I got sent to Hong Kong again, and then this time I remember so vividly. I was staying at Chungking Mansions, like so the cheapest room there, and I had rocked up to the the mainland affairs embassy, or that's the Taiwanese term, but whatever the local
no problem,
passport place is in Hong Kong, although I'm sure they've changed the terminology now. And I rocked up there, and I was like to renew my tourist visa.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and the public servant behind the bulletproof glass looked at me and said, "What are you doing in Zhengzhou?" Right? And I'm like, shit. I was like, oh no.
That's the worst feeling. I went through that too. That sucks.
And she's like, yeah, right. Oh, okay.
Yes, I've done it, man. Keep going. Keep going. Yeah.
So the floor sort of falls underneath your feet. I'm like, oh God. So she's like, you come back here at 9 a.m. in the morning, but there's no guarantee you're getting a passport back. And she had my passport. I was like, oh God. And so I was like, oh, so I had a sleepless night in Chungking.
Of course.
9 a.m. the next morning. And she's like, this is the last, tourist visa you're getting on this passport. And she gave it to me, and it had like 9 days on it. I was like, oh, so basically enough time to get in, get my stuff, get out. Because here's the thing. I was in Hong Kong for 2 nights, and I only had my wallet, my phone, my passport. I didn't have my laptop. All my stuff was back in Zhengzhou. So I was like, oh shit. Okay, so get on the plane, go back. And I said to my manager at the school, I was like, I got to get out of here in like a week. Like, you need to give me like a work visa like right now, or else I'm gone. They're like, oh, we'll sort it out.
没有关系，可以的啦。
没关系，什么都可以。And at that time, my 普通话 was not so good.
Of course,
yeah. So I was very much in a world of like, 什么都听不懂, and it was quite unnerving. And but the next day I was still in the school, rocked up, got all my Chinese staff there who were quite lovely to me, and one of them ran in and said to me, holding up her phone, and said to me, Liam, do you remember talking to this lady last week? I was like, what? And this was in the school. So this was before I went on that 2-day trip to Hong Kong.
Okay.
It was like a mother of one of the students. I was like, oh, vaguely, like which mother are you talking about? And she showed me the phone, and I was on the TV. I was on the news.
Oh.
Yeah. And so what had happened, and there I was speaking English with Chinese subtitles down the bottom, saying, oh, they told me I didn't need a visa for this job. And I was on the public television in Henan. Yes. And it freaked me out. I was like, oh, what the hell is this? And she said, yeah, do you remember that mom, like quote unquote, air quotes, mom of the boy? I was like, yeah, I thought they were a bit weird. She's like, yeah, they were undercover investigative journalists. I was like, oh crap. So what had happened, and I remember what had happened the week before, this pair of people had come in pretending to be parents of one of the students and asking some questions. And they sat me down and they wanted to get to know me a bit more. That was how they phrased it. And so they asked me all these questions, which I thought was a bit odd because none of the other parents asked me, what degree did I get at which university, and how long have I been here, and but one of the questions was, well, do you have a teaching diploma? I was like, well, I was told I didn't need one for this position.
Yeah,
and that was like the smoking gun. And so the school got shut down. The police came. Yeah, so I was on the television. So that was like the leak. That was the big, that was the scoop. And thankfully they pixelated my face. So I mean that's something. But nonetheless, the police had come the next day to shut down the school, and I was obviously terrified. So I couldn't trust the manager of the school anymore because I couldn't trust, that she would look after, me or have my best interest at heart. So there was one of my colleagues who I trusted. So I stayed at their parents' place for that last night. And I just, wore a face mask and kept a hat on the whole time because there were not that many. I'm not sure what it's like these days, but in Zhengzhou in 2013, there's not that many foreigners there. I remember the first Starbucks opening, like in the first couple of months I was there. So that was a big deal. Like, there were, all my colleagues were like, "It's a Starbucks," so we all went to the Starbucks. That was like this big celebration. It was definitely, a different kind of a point in, the city's development then. So I stood out like a sore thumb, obviously, to say the least. So I was pretty nervous about getting picked up by the cops, having been on the television and everything. So I managed to get driven to the airport through my colleague that I trusted. She took me there, and I bought a one-way ticket to Taiwan because I was like, well, I want to get out of Yes. So instead of going back to Australia originally, I was like, well, I still want to keep learning Chinese. I still want to keep living in Asia. So you might say, well, there's pretty strong, it's kind of insane level of determination. But yeah, I was that desperate to not leave. So I was like, well, I can't go to, I'm not going back to Hong Kong. I can't stay in China. Okay, where else can I go? Oh, well, I've never been to Taiwan. So I bought a one-way ticket. And Eddie, like, that changed everything because, I still remember I was like sweating as I walked up to the customs, as I was leaving the airport, like departures at Zhengzhou, because the immigration officials may have seen the news, and they were like, check my passport. I was like sweating like a pig. And then the plane got delayed for like 2 hours. I was like, oh no, sitting on the tarmac. I was like, oh, please just get this plane in the air. It wasn't until the wheels left the tarmac that I finally like sat back. And this is so freaky because this is exactly like how it was in the movie script that I wrote in university. And so it was just like
next time you got to write a better one where the guy ends up happy.
Yeah. Well, I did end up happy. So my lucky escape.
No, it's good. Yeah.
I came into Taoyuan Airport at like 1 a.m. and I arrived and like I came up to the immigration office here and I had no idea what like the laws were. I'd read briefly online that Australian passport holders have like a 30-day visa-free period, but the arrival card had all these things about, what's your hotel address, and the guy was looking at me like, so where are you staying tonight? Because this is like 1 a.m. out at Taoyuan. I was like, hotel in, I was like trying to like just make something up. Hotel
of course,
in Dongmen, and like I just googled like where we're placing. Like I didn't know where Dongmen was, and he was looking at me like, "What? Are you going to Dongmen now?" It's like 1 a.m. But anyway, he stamped my passport and let me through, and like I was just like, "Oh, thank God." Thank God I made it to Taiwan. I was like, thank you. It's just like
best place
someone
on earth,
looking
baby.
over me. Exactly. I was like, the gates of paradise opened up, and I was just like, wow. So within a couple of months, 2-3 months of arriving here, I found a job, secure job, got all my papers, all my visas, everything sorted, clean as a whistle, bureaucratically. And then I met my girlfriend who's now my wife. And that all happened within the space of a few months. Now we were settled here, got 2 beautiful little girls. It's like my life just completely turned around within the space of like 6 months. And of course, at that time, I didn't know that the girl I was dating would go on to be my wife. But, it's like the momentum of the positivity of the change was so palpable within those first few months. It just blew me away. And so, Eddie, that in a long version of the story, I don't often get the chance to go into the details, but that is kind of basically how I got here. I often joke, I didn't choose Taiwan, Taiwan chose me.
Yeah. You know what? That's a beauty, man. I think, we all kind of got lucky coming here. My idea was I want to go to Asia. Similar idea. I've always wanted to come out here. Like, I'm looking at China, Japan, Taiwan, Korea, Philippines, Thailand. And I kind of looked at them all and I thought, well, if I could learn another language, probably Chinese would be good, right? Mandarin Chinese would be good, more useful than, I don't want to say more useful, but more people speak it, right? So I'm like, okay, sure, that'd be great. Let's use that. Because, my family's Mexican, so we speak Spanish at home. And then, I'm born in Canada, so I speak English. And so I thought, okay, that'd be great to have that one too. And I'm looking at China and Taiwan, and I was still looking at Japan because I love Japanese food, and Japan's culture is pretty awesome, right? I didn't know much about Taiwan, but I found out that it snows, and I'm like, nah, man. Where I come from, we're close to Alaska. So there's a lot.
Is that where you're from?
Yeah, there's a lot of snow. It's a small town called Kitimat, BC. And I mean, it snows. It snows a lot.
Is it further north than like Yellowknife?
Oh no, I mean those are like the Northwest Territories. I mean, so yeah, I think that is
my Canadian geography is not.
So
that great.
So those are like way up there, but we're kind of like online. Yeah, I mean it's close to the border up there. Yeah, it's close to that. It's close to really like Alaska. North. My geography's bad too, man. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah. So. So it snowed a lot, and then I looked at Korea, and I'm like, okay, I do like Korean food, but it snows too, so I was like, okay, I'm done with that. And then
so you want to get away from snow, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the main thing, but it was. I'm just, I looked at this as a tropical island. I can learn Chinese. One of my best friends that I grew up with was a Canadian-born Chinese and Taiwanese, sorry, and. One of my best friends till this day. And I thought, you know what? He's a cool guy. His family's cool. I actually knew one guy that was here before me that lived in Taichung for a few years, and he taught, and he's like, it's a great place. And I said, you know what? Let's go. So I came here and I thought maybe I'll come here first, then I'll do the whole tour and, live everywhere. But I came to Taipei right away and man, it's been good. So I've been here a long time. Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Short version.
How many years have you been here?
I've been here for about 18 or 19 years, man. Long time, long time. Yeah.
Wow. That's great.
Getting up there. So I'm 42. I'm 42 right now. So I'm going to be, it's coming up on like, half my life. I'll be here. So yeah, it'll be cool. It's a cool place to be, man. So my Chinese is pretty decent. I never went to school or anything, but reading and writing is still pretty much, non-existent. That I think you have to actually practice that, right?
Sure, exactly.
That's not just going to come and all of a sudden you're like, hey, I can write characters. I mean, that's not going to happen, right? So, but the speaking is okay. But until I heard you speak, I thought mine was pretty decent. I was like, damn, I saw some of your stuff. I was like, wow, yours is great, man. Yeah. So
you flattered me. Thank you.
No, I see some of their interviews and stuff, right? So it's like, well, it's fantastic, man.
So I have my wife to thank for that. She doesn't have much interest in learning English. So
there you go.
That's my secret.
That's the best way, man. That's the best. That's funny. People always ask me like, hey, how come your Chinese so good? It's all from your wife, right? I'm like, no, she only speaks Chinese to me when she's mad.
Yeah.
Right. It's just like, I'm like, oh, okay, she's pissed.
Yeah. That's not the same with my wife, but long time ago, my ex-girlfriend, Korean girl, she was like that back in university. Yeah, it was like all English, and then when she's pissed, it was like
I know that feeling well.
all in Korean. So I had all these like Korean inappropriate kind of Korean words in my head. So
cool. my wife is from Miaoli, and so they speak they speak Hakka there, and so when my in-laws come, everyone speaks Chinese, everything's good, but I know when it flips into Hakka, there's some shady business going on for sure. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's like the protective layer there. I'm like, it's like now we're talking some stuff. Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, I know how it feels now because my family would do the same thing with Spanish, right?
I see.
So now I'm like, okay, I get it now. Yeah.
All right. So when you guys go to Canada and it's like they want to say something, it's like
speak Spanish. Yeah, it's crazy.
Your wife doesn't speak any Spanish?
A few words here and there, but not really.
Sure.
Yeah.
But your daughter's like trilingual, right?
Yeah, her Spanish is far behind the other two for sure. So when she was born, I did 50-50 English and Spanish, right? But neither of them was improving that much, and her Chinese was just like top, and the other two were just like way down here. So I kind of panicked a little bit, and I said, well, I need to choose one and really make sure she nails that one. And so I had to choose the English, right? I need to make sure she nails the English. So her English is perfect, like it's super fluent. But the Spanish has suffered, so I need to do something about that for sure. Yeah.
Ours is the good English, Chinese, but I've often like seen either yourself or other expats, with trilingual children, like from Latin America or Spanish speakers, and I'm just like, when they speak like three of them, I'm like, that's like it's just the trifecta, isn't it?
It's like amazing. Like it's amazing.
World's three most influential or mostly widely spoken languages is like bang, you're done.
I agree, man.
Good to
so
go. Yeah.
I also want to ask you about the Asia Pacific Youth Association. So what is that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Could I ask you about that? Because I was doing some research, and I was like, well tell me a little bit about that. That's cool.
Cool.
Okay.
Well, that's something that was formed at NTU.
Okay.
So I was at NTU for the last few years, graduated last year with a master's in national development.
Smart guy.
So it's kind of like policy notes. It's not. It's just a lot of hours at the library and a lot of patience and a lot. I was in and out, and there was a point where I almost thought I wasn't going to finish, but some people talked some sense into me and got me back there to finish it. But it was it was several years, but I'm glad I did finish it. But being at the a lot of foreigners go to NTU to do their Chinese program or something, and they do have some other departments which have a high representation of international people, such as agriculture and a couple of other kind of like let's say energy department, and a couple of other geography. I think has quite a more diverse kind of cohort. But my particular institute of national development, it used to be called Sanmin Zhu Xueyuan. Right, Samnin Zhuyi Xueyuan, which was like the three principles philosophy, and then Chen Shui-bian changed the name to National Development. So most of my classmates are all heading into political parties or the bureaucracy, and so that's kind of off limits to me, being as I have not yet nationalized, maybe one day. But at this point in time, so exactly, it's kind of like, oh, well, I can't really go and join such and such a political party, and I can't really join, like the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Well, okay, what can I do with this? There are not very, very, very few international students there. There are some Chinese students. There are a couple of others, like Huachao students and stuff in there, but very few Western students. But I was like, okay, so what am I going to do? And I'm looking around, and I was approached by a Japanese classmate of mine, good friend called Seika, and Seika's been here. He did his undergraduate degree at NTU, so he's really, really like super fluent in Chinese.
Wow.
Like, you couldn't pick him as being a foreigner, like just by listening to him. And he's been here like 10 years, I think, and he's been building up deep contacts and networks within various political parties and various institutes and think tanks here. So he's started this off as like a model APEC society, kind of like model UN, but APEC. It developed into like, now they've registered themselves as an NGO. And I think the long-term goal is for it to sort of become a self-sustaining think tank. Now, at this point in time, it's only been an NGO, registered as an NGO for a couple of years, and they're trying to get some different funding. But they regularly hold events at the Legislative UN and various other places, some of which I've been along to participate in. So my position is I'm the international PR director. So basically stuff relating to promoting the tank, or I wouldn't say the tank yet, promoting the organization or the association internationally, and to try and facilitate more exchanges and stuff in terms of academic exchanges or linkages with either the representative councils here or other
that's great, man.
The wider world, trying to get it
kind of connecting the dots.
The wider world. So that's kind of what Asia Pacific Youth Association is about. And they also doing at this point in time a lot of courses and training programs for I'd say mostly local students who are like undergraduate students who eventually want to go into politics. So they will get like a summer camp or something, piece it together and get someone from Minzongdang and Minjindang and Guomingdang, and they got every dang is all represented, so that's nice. So they're very strict about maintaining that sort of neutrality.
That makes sense.
That of course, work with everyone. And they have these courses, and I've volunteered and helped out on some of those
man.
courses.
That's really cool. Really cool.
It's not bad. You meet a lot of amazing people. Met Audrey Tang and met lots of other thought leaders in Taiwan politics. He Ziwei from Minjindang has been working with us a lot, so we're pretty close. So yeah, this opens a lot of doors in that regard. That's been quite a fruitful experience so far. So that's
very cool, man. Wow.
Yeah.
How long have you been working with that association?
About 18 months.
18 months. Okay.
Yeah. We hopefully will again host a big event for. Okay, it had a name at a certain point, but it's sort of been shelved for now. Ooh, listen to that.
Is that the thunder? I just heard it over here too. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's pretty intense. Yeah. We were almost going to hold this big event with William Lai, actually, VP Lai, where we were going to we had invited about 20 or 30 international speakers and guests, mostly long-term residents here who had various, some academics, some different journalists, some different peoples. We were all just going to sit down and have a forum and a talk with William, with the vice president, about some of the issues, especially policy-related issues that the international community faces here. Unfortunately, it got canceled at the last minute, but we are hoping to do that again. Going forward. So, like with your exposure and your reach that you have, it'd be fantastic.
My pleasure. I'd love
time,
it.
I remember when things are going back to normal. Yeah.
I remember that was actually the first time I think I met you was when I heard people talking about that and we started chatting about it. Yeah. I think so. We were definitely. I'm definitely interested for sure.
That'd be great.
I'd love it, man. I'd love to do that. Yeah. And I've been here for a long time, and I actually have a pretty good connection with a lot of the expats, the ones especially in Tianmu, and all over the ones that are looking for Mexican food, right? So we get a lot of expats coming in, and I mean, we do Mexican food, but we also do, some American stuff. And then we do like the local craft beers. So we have a pretty good following. Again, like through this whole mess, we've been doing, I mean, not fantastic, but okay. We're doing okay. We have a lot of support. One of the bummers was a lot of our customers, we were just talking about, they went back home to get their shots, right? To get their vaccine shots, which, so last summer, everybody stayed here. So let me go further back. So in Tianmu, when you have a restaurant business, it's, if you take care of locals, you take care of expats, you balance everything is good. It's definitely doable. Summertime is very slow because all the expats, they go back to the US, they go back to Europe, they go back everywhere. And the Taiwanese that live in this area, they're going to California, they're going to Paris, they're going somewhere. So this little area here is really slow in the summer. But last year was our best summer because everybody stayed. No one went home. So we were thinking that this summer might have been a good one as well. But as soon as level 3 came up, everybody was like on the first plane home to get their vaccines. Yeah. So
I got it. Okay.
So we got a good percentage of people are gone. And like right now, it's kind of nice that it's raining because we're on a little water shortage here, right? So it's good that it's raining. Yeah, That's good. Yeah,
it is. Let's hope it's getting down to those critical areas a bit further south. But
I hope so. Yeah. I think it's a typhoon or something, right? They said a typhoon is zipping by Taiwan or something. I'm not sure. Yeah, I read something about that. Yeah. But yeah, man. So speaking of like the vaccines, I mean,
yes.
I would love to talk a little bit about that with you as well.
Let's talk a bit about that. That's been very much front and center of
everywhere.
Local media, but also the international media now.
Yeah.
And I've just been following it, and I've written a couple of pieces.
I know. I will actually. I'll put the links to those in the description for sure. Yeah, for sure. For sure, I will. For sure, of course.
Yeah,
check those out, people, please. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah. So I've just been trying to, share what I can see, is kind of happening, and how this plays out into the broader picture in terms of Taiwan's geopolitical position and as well as its relationship with the US, and obviously involving China and just everything else that plays into that. Of course, we had the annual Let's Help Get Taiwan into the World Health Association last week as well. So
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, well, they do that every year. They've been doing that for the last few years since Taiwan's been sidelined. There's a lot of questions over the efficiency or how useful it is. Actually, Russ Feingold he's brought up some interesting points about that, whether or not it's kind of more damaging to Taiwan's, I guess, sense of what could you say, national pride or its image on the international stage. If every year it's sort of trying to do this kind of pity diplomacy thing, but it does garner a lot of international attention, and you always get these supportive tweets from all these high-level officials here, there, and everywhere. So there's some trade-offs, but we've seen that happening in the last week as well, just as the outbreak here is happening. So there's just been this complete transformation of the conversation. Global conversation about Taiwan and the pandemic, because success story from the beginning all the way through, and that's garnered Taiwan a lot of rep points and just a lot of goodwill and a lot of great positive things, everything. And now it's not all out the window by any means, but suddenly no, of course not. But there's suddenly been questions rising of how have they lost control, as it were, and what's this about having one of the lowest vaccine or immunization levels in the developed world. And just so unfortunately, that is all coming at the same time that you've got publications like The Economist saying, Taiwan's the most dangerous place in the world, which is, throwing a bit more of a...
That's crazy.
It is catastrophizing, obviously. However, it's that kind of media attention that sort of spins the narrative on where Taiwan is at. So what I wanted to try and do through my couple of pieces was sort of set the framework and try to give some perspective as to trying to match, I guess, the local dynamics in terms of the vaccinations and the vaccine diplomacy with a bit of that broader narrative overseas. And try to find where the two kind of connect together. For example, I think the vaccination drive and Latin American allies and Honduras and Paraguay threatening to cut ties is real unfortunate timing. And that's putting much more pressure on Taipei or Taiwan, to decide, okay, well, as a government, are we going to be lobbying Washington to prioritize Honduras, Paraguay, our other Latin American allies? Or, are we trying to get our doses sent here first? What's the priority here? So there's just so much going on here, Eddy. So it's still playing out, but there are some hopeful signs. We've heard now Japan's committed a 1 million vaccine.
That's a lot.
Doses.
That's a lot.
That's going to help.
I heard they're arriving by Friday, something like that. I mean, which is today, I think, right? It's today, Friday? No, it's tomorrow.
Today is Friday. We'll see. I mean, if they get here on time, but that's definitely some, temporary relief.
That's great.
It's not gonna help, but the everything, but it's a step forward. So I think what we're going to see right now is, when push comes to shove, there's always a lot of goodwill extended to Taiwan, a lot of great, speeches and tweets and stuff from all sides. But when push comes to shove, who's gonna sort of put their hand out and help? Exactly. So
that's tough.
So what do you think? I mean, what's your reading?
I mean, I've been here for a long time, and I always see, I mean, I don't know how to say it, but there's always Taiwan's been doing so well, and through the whole pandemic, we didn't really have a pandemic here, right? Everybody's been good. It's been mostly imported cases, right? Mostly imported cases.
Yes.
And then, I mean, they closed the borders, and they were still, trickling in, which was still kind of surprising, but I'm guessing they were citizens or something. You can't really lock your citizens out, I guess, right? So
some countries can.
Some countries can, I guess. Yeah.
It's true.
So, there you go. But so
New Zealand,
So I'm thinking, it was going really well. And we even had the hashtag of, Taiwan is helping, right? So Taiwan can help, Taiwan is helping. And it's been really good. But I mean, I would say, was it 3-4 weeks ago, I don't want to say the bubble burst, but I don't really know the whole story. Cause I mean, I've heard it told to me so many different times. A pilot or a group of pilots came and they went into the tea houses or whatever they'd like to call them, which is basically Hooker Street, right? They went over there. They went to Hooker Street, and they only had I believe up to 3 days of quarantine only. So they just came in and they kind of brought it with them. And apparently there was a social club. I heard it was the Lions Club. I don't know.
That's it.
They went in
Club.
there as well. And I guess they were all kind of in the same area. And then that kind of was what caused the explosion. And it's a bummer because, everybody's been doing really well. Like my business was awesome. And now it's down 50%. And we're actually like, I'm delivering, like, so that's why it's been tough for me to get you on, because it's been crazy. Like I felt so bad because I didn't want you to think I was blowing you off, but I've been delivering. I've been, doing videos and collaborating with local breweries and just all this crazy stuff because we got to keep hustling. We got to keep going. And when the government says no more dine-in, I mean, for us, like on a weekend, that's when we're making our money, right? Because people are coming in for their big margaritas and their tacos and the beers and everyone's, they're having a good time. Everything that's all gone, right? Like, so alcohol sales are pretty much zero. I mean, we do sell growlers and we do have people that come in and they fill the growlers, which is great. And we're going to launch another thing today as well for one-way growlers, but that's another topic. But yeah, so all the alcohol sales, even drink sales, like, if you're coming in, you're getting your food to go, you don't need to buy a Coke or you don't need to buy horchata or you don't need to buy a drink because you have drinks at home. You have water, you have whatever you can buy from the supermarket. So the sales have been down quite a bit. And from what I hear, with us delivering and doing all that stuff, 50% down is not bad. Like when I'm talking to a lot of places, they can't even open, like hot pot places and barbecue, all you can eat buffets. They can't even open because you can't really package that. You have to revamp your menu. So we're struggling. We're doing okay. We do appreciate all the support from everybody, but yeah, it's a crazy thing. So it's a bummer for just this one kind of like lapse of judgment that caused the whole kind of country to be, it's not really lockdown, but it's, semi lockdown. People are kind of,
it is semi lockdown.
Yeah. The good thing about Taiwan is the government's like, all right, mask up. Even before everyone was masking up anyway. Government's like, hey, you know what? We're not locked down yet, but don't eat out. No one's eating out. So, obviously that sucks for a restaurant, but it's good for the customer, for the country to be like, we hope that, it's after 2 now, so I don't know what the numbers are today, but we're hoping that the numbers are going to slowly go down and we can do level 3 for a little while. And I'm thinking that level 4 is like the full out lockdown. I don't know if that's going to happen. Hopefully not. But I'm guessing that level 3, if it gets bad, they'll probably keep level 3 and they'll just kind of add more stipulations. Like before level 3, dine-in was okay. Now level 3, no more dine-in. Level 3 plus no dine-in. So that's what I think. I think level 4 sounds scary. So I think
yes,
it sounds very scary, right? So I think
it's not great optics. I don't think they want that.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants
that. No. And I think it is a bit ironic, that it's kind of like the business owners such as yourself being hardest hit.
For sure.
But this kind of, as you said, was started by a bunch of business owners going out to these tea houses, things like this. I think it's a fascinating question over which I'm not sure it certainly hasn't been explored in the international media. Whether or not people will sort of dive more into it in the local media, we'll see. But I think it's an interesting kind of question over what are the kind of the moral dimensions of societal leadership, because associations like Lions Club are traditionally thought of as role models of the community. Yeah,
great club.
It is. So it is, and pilots as well. It's not
great
the first
people.
time.
Yeah.
Great people. Exactly.
Usually.
So it's Well, and it's not just local pilots. We've had a couple of other instances earlier. We had one pilot from New Zealand and other things like that.
Yeah.
So I think there has been one of the interesting impacts, I think, especially, and this has been particularly pronounced in Taiwan, is sometimes those people who, things where shit goes down and where stuff comes unraveled are often maybe those people you'd maybe least expect of it from, you know, a more your conventional view of society. And, you know, to what extent is there more judgment from the society because, oh, well, this kind of thing happened at a, you know, quote unquote tea house and something, you know, a little bit 复杂, as you'd say in Chinese. You know, this kind of 复杂的环境, you know, I think that's an interesting question to explore. I don't know if you got some thoughts on that.
I mean, I know it's hard because there's all this hearsay about it. You don't really know the real story. And I wonder if anyone will really get to the bottom of it. I know that when that New Zealand pilot came in, he came to Tianmu, right? He was kind of like,
oh, really? Okay,
he was shopping across the street, apparently. Luckily, he doesn't like Mexican, right? But he was shopping across the street. And I think I don't know if it was a Sogo, but definitely the Xinguang Sanyue across the street. He was there. So Tianmu died down for a couple of weeks. And then it was kind of like, okay, we got through it. Okay, no problem. We're good. But right now, it sucks to see the numbers. Like I said, it's after 2. I don't know what the numbers are for the day, but it
wasn't so good yesterday. It was high.
Yeah, it was coming down. It was looking good. And then all of a sudden yesterday kind of went up again. Again, compared to the rest of the world, they're not huge numbers, but for Taiwan, they're big numbers. And it's a bit of a bummer. And again, I've also heard that the people that caused the problem, the Lions Club or the pilots, whoever it was, they got a 300,000 NT fine, which is a slap on the wrist, really. I mean, I'm losing more than that. Yeah, I'm losing more than that in a week. You know what I mean? Like, so it's that's only me. I mean, that not to mention other places. I mean, the guy, for example, we have a restaurant next door to us, a really nice high-end Italian place. They just opened, 2-3 months of renovation, super high-end, super good food, great people, Italian group of guys, but it's fine dining, right? It's like beautiful, like Wagyu and, you know, steaks from Japan, from Australia, like everything they have is the top. So the prices are higher, but definitely worth it. Really good. They're cooking on an open fire. The whole place is really well thought out. I mean, they've been hit really hard because fine dining, like for us, you can come in, you can drink, but you can also take tacos home. You can take enchiladas home. Burritos. You can take Mexican food home, your nachos, take it, watch a movie or whatever at home with a beer. You're good. But I mean, like, you can't have the Italian guy coming home with you pouring the bottle of wine. You know, you can't have that like flame grilled steak and then throw it in a little paper box and be like, hey, $3,000. You know what I mean? It's tough. It's tough.
Hey, but that's an interesting business idea there, Eddie. You know, like, I wonder if, you know, that will eventually become an option on, I don't know, Uber Eats or another app one day, you know, like in-house fine dining. Bring the sommelier to your house. You actually what?
I've actually chatted about this with a chef that I knew before, because I have, like, you know, like, I'm not a super chef, like I'm pretty decent, and I learned from my mom, but a lot of the people that I know, like the chefs that I know, they're like the cordon bleu guys, like they're like high-end guys. And I was doing some research in the States, and there's a little app in the state that's popped up, and it's similar to like a chef to go. Like, you order your meal, but the chef comes to your house and makes the meal. So it's like an Uber for chefs. So I think somebody has slowly started that, and I think it's a great idea. And that is a great idea. And we actually wanted to do something with that, like that, with the chefs that I know here. Obviously, right now, nobody wants you in their house. But before that, I mean, I think it's a great idea, because
it's great.
I mean, you can come home and you can have your takeout is one thing, but when it's made there and then served like right off the grill, it's definitely going to be different.
It's an experience.
Sure. Yes. Experience. Yes. Yeah. So I definitely think that's a great business idea. Yeah.
It is. Only thing in Taiwan is that you'd have to.
Kitchens are tough.
Sure, exactly. Kitchens are a bit of a deal, aren't they? But I'd imagine they'd be a bit more sizable in Tianmu than probably elsewhere. So
for sure,
but more feasible in Tianmu.
I think it's doable. I think it would be like a modified version of catering. The person is going to have some kind of specialty equipment to make his stuff. I mean, there's definitely ways to do it for sure. Yeah. There's a lot of cool things. There's a lot of cool things happening. Like, we started our online last year. I had a developer build an online ordering platform for us, and I I left it there for it was about 95% finished. I left it there and we didn't really need it. And then about, a few weeks ago, I messaged my developer and I said, it's 95% done. How long is it going to take to get it done? He said 3 days. I said, all right, go. So he finished it, and that's been saving us a lot because places a lot of people that they don't know. Shout out to Uber and Food Panda and stuff. They're really helping us a lot, but they also take a huge commission, right? Yeah. They take a massive commission. So between 30 and 40% is what these companies take, which really most people don't know. That's almost half, right? So you have to kind of adjust your prices. You have to really, it's doable, but if somebody has their own, for example, our own ordering platform, it's just ours. We're connected to a local Taiwanese payment gateway. They take 2.8 or something like that. And then the rest goes directly to the restaurant. So my idea was I wanted to get that built, and we're working on all the kinks right now. It's pretty much done. And then I actually want to offer it to other restaurants because I think it helps a lot, man, for sure.
Yeah, right. A locally built solution.
Yeah, it's something local. We're not looking for big fees. We're just looking for, the money to go to the right hands, I think. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, it's you guys who need it most. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Right now. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking what you're feeling. So we just sort of had a bit of a steer through, the situation with the vaccines and
sure,
everything else going on there in the international situation. I'm just wondering, how you feel about exactly when you see stuff like the Economist front page, heading
Taiwan's the most dangerous place in the world,
exactly, right? This kind of thing, how you've perceived it as yourself, but also in the people, like your family, your friends back home or overseas, and their perception of Taiwan. Because what I've noticed is, I think the threat perception, the so-called China threat perception, is becoming the difference between Taiwanese perceptions of that threat and those of either America or especially the Western world, but overseas. That gap in the perception gap is just becoming larger and larger. And I think that's really interesting. My friend, I did not think to share one of my articles on Reddit because I'm not a big Reddit user, but I have a buddy in Sydney who was like, man, this is great. I want to put it on Reddit because I think right now everyone wants to read about Taiwan stuff. I was like, well, I guess that is I'd noticed.
Great. Yeah.
Increasing interest in Taiwan stuff, but I was like, you really reckon put it on Reddit on somewhere? He puts it on two Reddits. He put it on subreddit, coronavirus subreddit, and geopolitics subreddit. And it got voted up to number 3. And I was
that's amazing. Congrats on that. That's fantastic. Yeah,
thanks. But it's not so much my piece. I think it was just the topic right now. It's such a hot button topic. Everyone sees something about Taiwan. And my friend wrote a good headline there. Is U.S. What was it U.S. delays in sending vaccines to Taiwan constitutes a geopolitical threat. And it's everyone's just in on this issue right now. Exactly. And I just wonder, because I've had conversations with family and friends overseas, and more of them bring it up out of the blue. They're like, "What are you gonna do if and when China attacks, and do you have a plan to say, to get your family out of Taiwan?" And my parents are starting to
They're asking.
How has that been for you? And is it the same?
It is similar, but I think first of all, I think the news, when the Economist writes something like that, that's a pretty respected magazine, right? It's pretty respected, right? When you write something like that, it's news usually glorifies the negative, right? That's what people, it's always kind of I don't want to say maybe fear mongering,
leads, right?
Yeah, right. I don't want to say fear mongering, but it's just I don't want to say
on some level it is.
Yeah, right. But almost every week I see articles shared with the foreign, I'm pretty, like yourself, well connected in the foreign community here. So I always see articles on Taiwan was voted #1 place in the world for expats, right? You probably saw that one.
Yes. Oh, every year.
Right? Every year. It's always that, right?
Always that.
Taiwan voted safest place in the world. Taiwan voted this. And then all of a sudden the Economist writes that. I mean, for me, I think we're doing well here. I think obviously this little blip sucks, but my family, they came here to visit, obviously before this mess. And they're like, okay, I get why you like it here. For me, like, I love Canada. I love Mexico. Taiwan is kind of like a blend of both of those for me. Like, it's got, the late night, the night markets, the friendly people. I think it's a great place. I love it here. So
yes,
like just yesterday, we have, I don't know if you're a baseball guy, but there's a team, Dragons team here.
Yeah. Well, my brother-in-law is a massive baseball fan.
Yeah.
And I could tell you stories. Like, he's been amazing. He's good friends with one of Taiwan's like biggest baseball stars, like who's got the record for the most home runs, actually.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So
beautiful.
He's Zhang Taishan, and he's friends with him in Taoyuan. And so he actually got me in touch with him to do like a profile story on him for the Taipei Times when he retired a few years ago. So I'm not a baseball guy at all. I will stay up and watch Taiwan's baseball, like sure, when it's like Zhonghua Dui, right? I'll really get into that, like especially if we're playing Japan or something. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Taiwan,
but I'm not in for like
good.
Yeah. It's always good, but I'm not
always
in for
good.
like the leagues and stuff. Like, I'm just not that into it.
Yeah.
But my brother-in-law is so obsessive about it that I know some of the players and I know about, the teams and everything. So
yeah. So the Dragons, I mean, they play here.
The Dragons,
it's a new team. It's a new team, I think, right?
Well, actually, it's a very old team, but it got rebranded.
Okay. So it's okay.
Yeah,
so
it's an old team that fell out and then they came back.
Okay. Well, they rebuilt the Tianmu Stadium. I mean, it's been good, but they rebranded it for the Dragons. I think it looks great. And we have the players, they come in to eat sometimes. One of the players is from Central America. He comes in, he loves it here because he can speak Spanish. He can get, what he likes, his beans and his rice and all the stuff he likes.
Nice,
and he doesn't,
nice.
they live close by. And he comes in, and just yesterday he came in to eat, and obviously not dine in, but, to go. And I was asking him how it's going. And he said, he loves Taiwan because he feels so safe. Like, he's lived in the States. Obviously, he's lived in Central America, and now he's living here. And he said it's the safest he's ever felt, even including the States. Like he said,
yeah, of course.
He said, in the States, even he was playing Major League Baseball, right? Like, he was at the top. He was doing well.
Wow.
Even with that, I mean, there's still places where you feel like, oh man,
of course,
I got to get out of here, man.
Over your shoulder, yeah.
Especially being, like a Latino or like a dark-skinned Latino guy in a certain area. He's kind of like, but here, he's great. He said everyone treats him well. He loves it. He loves baseball. I mean, he's a professional. That's what he does. It is great. I love chatting with this guy. And then after all this mess, I'm gonna see if I can get him on do a podcast with him as well, because it's really awesome. But
really do that.
Yeah, I want to do it, and it's cool because he's like, yeah, he reassured me. He's like, this is amazing. This little thing is, I mean, it sucks, but in the grand scheme of things, it's really nothing, right? Like,
no, exactly.
It's safe. It's Taiwan safe. I think, like I was saying earlier, everyone masks up, everybody's doing the right thing here. Yes. Yeah, there was that mistake with the pilots or whatever, but everybody's doing the right thing here.
Yes.
You got to close. Okay, you close. No more dining. Okay, no more dining. We pivot to something else. Government, I think they're doing the right thing. I mean, every day they're doing like their announcement on the numbers. I think it's great. Definitely, obviously, the Economist writing that title, Taiwan is the I don't know, not.
But it really is. Like, but I should clarify, it really wasn't about the virus or the pandemic at all.
Okay, I didn't read it. So okay.
Oh no, sorry.
So with the China thing, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely just focusing on basically saying China this is where World War III is gonna play.
Yeah. No, so definitely, I've definitely heard that as well. And my family, I mean, my family's Mexican. We don't really watch the news because it's always bad, right? So, but I mean, yeah, they're kind of like, what's going on? I'm like, don't worry, everything's fine. But yeah, I think I don't want to talk too much about politics. I don't know that much about it, but I think Taiwan's an amazing place. Obviously, China wants it, right? But I don't think that they're going to come and bomb the crap and destroy it. They're going to bomb the hell out of it to take it back, because I don't think that makes sense. Taiwan's a great place. To destroy it just so they could have it doesn't really make sense. And I don't think that's going to happen. So
and that's the dominant perspective of Taiwanese in Taiwan. And so it is kind of no one can predict the future.
Of course.
So we cannot really know, but it's kind of like I think it's going to become like the perception gap. And I feel much the same as you on the most part, that although Xi Jinping's much more aggressive and assertive on the world stage, and I wouldn't rule out the possibility of something like a naval blockade if DPP gets voted in again, and if nothing else works, not going like the nuclear option and going all out, complete assault, and an amphibious landing and all of that. But I wouldn't. I could see some sort of what they call gray zone tactic or this kind of thing playing out. However, having said all of that, it's like the way the threat perception is being hyped, especially in the States, but with other American allies around the world, it's I think this kind of gap between where Taiwanese are like, nah, then probably not gonna do that, and then the rest of
the world,
Taiwan's allies saying, "Whoa, here comes the big attack! Let's get ready. Let's start." I think that issue is going to get bigger, and I don't see it going away anytime soon. And I think,
for sure,
that's going to be a big problem for maintaining solidarity and clarity between Taiwan and its allies, who and the U.S. especially.
Do you think it's good though that this news is kind of out there, so the allies are kind of like, hey, let's get something ready for Taiwan? Or do you think it's just kind of like fake news or whatever that people are like, it's bull? What's your opinion on that?
I would say the pandemic's been fantastic for Taiwan's PR. And
for sure.
For getting its name out there, for brand Taiwan. I'm not so sure about that's cross-strait relations and how everything's played out in that regard. I think basically solidarity on Taiwan's one of the only bipartisan points of bipartisan support in the U.S. Congress. It has been for a long time. And that's definitely come over into the Biden administration now. There's a lot of fears that Biden was going to sort of like flip back, America's policy, but that clearly hasn't been the case. Yet, at what point does chest beating and here we are, and strong signals of support start to create more risk for Taiwan? Because after all, they're actually here in the front line. Exactly. At what point does that become a provocation so serious that the Chinese decide, we actually have to step up our activities, step up our aerial intrusions into your airspace, etc., because we cannot let the Americans continue to talk about Taiwan and do these things about Taiwan. So at what point are you really escalating the situation to the point where of no return? That's what I'm more worried about, is like how much of this is kind of playing into the US's, basically it's China's strategy, and how far are the US prepared to kind of gamble with Taiwan's safety in order to show resolve to Beijing and to put pressure on Beijing to sort of back off. So it's a very delicate two-sided double-edged sword, but I think it's definitely going to continue down this path. So the risk of miscalculation, I think, is growing. Yes, I definitely think it's much less about, in a very, from a very logical or realist perspective, it's not in Beijing's interests to bomb the hell out of Taiwan. Yeah, that's true. But I think the dynamic between the US and China is such that it could either one of those powers and their mismatch in terms of their expectations of one another that accidentally leads to an increase in tensions and potentially a small but contained armed conflict.
No, I understand. I mean, I've been here for a long time.
Have to be ready for it.
For sure. I mean, I've been here for a long time.
You've been much longer than me. So
how long when did you get here? How long have you been here?
I've been here 7.5, 7 going on 8 years, about 10 years less than you. Yeah.
I remember, when was it? I was at my first kindergarten. And I remember, every 4 years, the voting, right? They have the big vote for the president when they have all the crazy, like the sounds and everyone, it's crazy. It's like you've been here.
One big party. Those, right? Yeah. It's been fun.
So it's fun. Yeah. It's fun. I remember, Chen Shui-bian got shot. I remember him getting shot.
Oh, you remember that?
I've been here for so long, man. I remember that. I just remember all that stuff. And it's crazy. And it seemed to be going like green, blue, green, blue, green, blue for as long as I've been here. And then, this time, it was green and then green again, right? I believe. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So green. Sorry, I'm not super political, but So after the green won, I was, I'm not very political. I'm all about, Democrat and, everybody doing their, I don't want to say Democrat. I want to see everybody doing their due diligence and stuff like that. But as soon as it was green, green, I thought, okay, China's not going to like that, obviously. 8 years of green. So, because I know that, they were changing. Taoyuan Airport was Chiang Kai-shek Memorial Airport before, and it was changed.
Oh, right. Yes.
Right, yeah. So I know that changing all that, China's not a fan. So I was wondering, what's going to happen. And then I'm not saying it happened on purpose, but it's kind of like, it's crazy how all the things kind of come around. And then you talk, in a restaurant, you meet so many people, and man, I've met, I've heard some crazy stories about, it's planned, it's germ warfare, it's this, it's that. It's like, oh man. So I get to hear all these crackpot stories, and it's like, oh my gosh. Yeah. But sometimes, and then people talk about vaccines, and it's fake, and they did this for the vaccines, and vaccines
there's chips in it.
Yeah.
And it's linked to 5G. And have you heard this 5G, stuff? 5G. In Europe,
I've heard everything. I've heard it's a plandemic. I've heard the term plandemic. Yeah. I've heard that.
COVID 1984.
Yeah, there you go. I never heard that one, but I've heard that, and I've also heard it's planned to force people to take the vaccines because there were so many vaccines that were expiring, and I'm just like, oh, you hear so much, and it's just it's a little crazy. But I think at the end of it, and obviously I hope that there's no war, and I don't think that China wants to just bomb the heck out of this island, because it's a valuable piece of real estate for for Taiwan, for whoever, right? It's a good place to be, and I love it, and I live here, so don't do that, please.
Yes.
Yeah. So
hey,
Paradise
who you should
Island,
have
man.
on?
Who's
yeah,
that?
let's hope it stays that way. Who you should have on is Emmanuel Zer. Have you met him?
Okay, I don't think so, man. Send me his info if you've got that. Yeah.
I just had him on my podcast a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, send him to me, man. I'd love
He's been here a long time,
Okay.
and he's very. If you're interested in like the energy transition and the shift to sustainable energy and wind farms and all of that stuff, he's really deep in like consulting the government on all of that stuff.
Sounds great.
Very interesting guy.
Sounds good.
He's got some amazing stories. He also speaks Japanese and Korean, I believe.
Wow.
And he
making us look bad.
Yeah, really. Yeah. I was like, oh, you have attained, you are what I wanted to be. Like when I first started my post-grads, I was like, I'm going to learn Japanese, then I'm going to learn Chinese. And then he's like, yeah, I speak all three. I'm like, oh.
And you're like, yeah.
Damn it. Yeah.
That's cool, bro.
But he's got some amazing stories, like doing business in China and in Japan and just all sorts of stuff. So you should definitely
I'd love it. I'd love to have that, bro. Sounds good. Yeah.
I
appreciate that, man. I appreciate you coming and doing the show, man. And like I said, I apologize for rescheduling, but these Well, these 3 weeks have been madness for me, man. Crazy. It's like business. We've been doing it for 14 years, but like when it was like day one, you know, no more dine-in, it's like another business. It's like starting from scratch. Luckily, with all the contacts that I've accumulated for, you know, 20 years, but it's still day one from scratch. So it's a little crazy, man, for sure.
What is the hardest part of starting a restaurant in Taiwan? I'm really curious.
To be honest, one of the hardest parts in a restaurant is finding people to work, because right now we're in an age of I don't know how can I say, like influencers and social media and stuff like that. And a restaurant for us, we make everything. We make flour tortillas. We grind the corn and we make our corn tortillas. We marinate all our meats. We make all the sauces. We make everything. So that means it's pretty labor intensive. And I know I've been doing it for a long time. It's no problem for me. But if you pull in like someone from somewhere else where it's kind of like microwave bag and go, where a lot of places are like that more than you think, they come in here and they're just like, whoa, I have to grind the corn. Like what? You know, like I'm like, yeah, I have to cut, you know, I have to cut the vegetables. I have
elbow grease. Yeah.
You have to make
some of it.
Like you're making your chunky salsa. You've got to have, you know, the layers, if you know, the garlic and the onion. You gotta cook in. I mean, you cook too. So you got to cook food in layers. You cannot just, when you're making your salsa, here's all the ingredients, dump it in a pot, burn it. You know,
it's terrible.
It's not
going to
work.
Marinate. Exactly.
Yeah, you got to build the layers of food. So teaching that to somebody who, so first you can get a chef in here, but a chef comes in and they want to change everything. They're like, wow, this is what I used to do. And I'm like, dude, how about you just do it my way, because it's my family's recipe and this is
follow
what we
the
do.
SOP.
Yeah, just follow that. So they don't want to
Yeah.
follow the SOP. So then you get other people and you teach them to cook. That's okay. It's a lot longer process, but eventually they get to a point where they want to cut corners. They're like, oh, I don't have to measure this. Oh, I can eyeball this. Oh, I can do this. So that's, for me, has been the toughest part.
Really?
Keeping people. So when you get people to a level, you know, we really try to take care of everybody. And when you get them to a level where they're really good, you have to really take care of them, or they get bored and they just like, oh, I learned everything, I'm leaving. And you're just like, I spent 3 years training you. So yeah.
And then they go and then they go and start
else.
their own thing with something.
Some can go and start their own thing, which was a big fear at the beginning, but it's not anymore, because there's so much more work than just the food. I mean, you can have,
of course,
food places with let's just say there's another place down the road with better food than me. There's so much social media and time management, and being a leader to your staff, and just podcasting, you know, like your YouTube channel, and there's so much more to where, the food is super important, of course, but it wasn't as much as I thought in the beginning. You know, like at the beginning, you think, I got good food, everyone's going to come. Well, not if they don't know who you are, right? Not if they, you know, like I've met other Mexican food places with really good food. Owner's an asshole. They disappear. You know, you got to take care of the people that come in. You got to take care of your staff so they can take care of the people that come in. It's I always joke about it with the people in the industry. We're kind of like the whipping boys of society. You know, you come out. What happens when you had a shitty day? You're going to go out, you're going to get some food, have a beer, have some wine, whatever. And if you're not having a good time, you're going to let the person know, look, I had a shitty day. Now I'm going to project that onto you. Where the person's like, oh my God, I just came to work. So it's a lot of social skill, man. It's a lot of social skill.
Social skill.
And the social skill is a very difficult thing to teach, right? So right now I got some really good people from all, actually I have Taiwanese working for me, but I've got a Russian girl. I've got a couple guys from Indonesia, Philippines. I got a Turkey. I don't want to miss anyone, so I don't look bad. But we got Vietnam. Got a really good mix of people here, and so it's pretty good. I think if people are they need, I don't want to say they need the money, but they need the job. They're like, hey, I'm putting myself through school, or I'm putting money on my family's table. That helps a lot. The tough thing is when you get, you know, some younger guys that maybe they still live at home, they got no bills, no rent. That's tougher to motivate them, because as soon as it gets busy, they're just like, man, this is too busy. It's not worth it. And they leave. So that's tough. That's just one aspect, but trying to keep yourself, like for me right now, I'm posting like daily videos of things that we're doing, because you want to keep yourself on everybody's mind. Everyone's at home watching Netflix. They're wondering what they should eat for dinner. And you gotta put your face in there and be like, hey, you gotta, like, I don't know. You got to keep your face up there, and you got to keep yourself in everyone's minds, because even me, there's fantastic restaurants that I love. And when someone brings it up, I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that place. I love that place. But you forget because
you do.
We live in a really, like, I don't know, what is it, like a technological world where it's just like there's so much information flying at you all the time. I mean, your phone, you can watch Joe Rogan, you can watch cartoons, you can watch porn, you can watch anything in like 5 seconds. It's there. Yeah, baseball, soccer, sports. In 5 seconds, that comes up on your phone. So you're kind of competing with everything when you're doing a business. So there's more than just food. Yeah.
And people are being, I think that's great. I think like that's so interesting, because, you know, like, I mean, everyone, I'm sure anyone who's ever tried their hand, you know, even just home cooking, and they, you know, I never done it, never sold anyone a piece of food. So I don't consider myself at all a chef.
No. Sure.
Had people come to my house, you know, 20, 30 people, cooked for everyone. And those moments of pride where you're like, everyone's like, this is fantastic food. You're like, and then sometimes in the back of your mind, you're like, one day I'm gonna, one day I'm gonna, and I know it's absolutely, because I have worked in restaurants before, not as the chef, as waiters and
even
bar backs and stuff. Well, like as an employee, it's not too bad, but it was a lot of fun. But I've seen, you know, some of the stress of working in kitchens and such like that. So I know it's definitely not what you're imagining, but I'm still curious. Like, I wouldn't have picked like keeping staff as being the biggest or one of the toughest problems, but there you go. You just nailed it there. That's
for me, it is, because I mean, I don't know how old you are, but like for me, when I was an employee, so when I grew up, you know, I had my first job. Like, I don't want to say anything bad about generations or whatever, but when I grew up, I had my first job. I was stacking diapers, you know, in a warehouse. You know, I was probably like 14 or something like that. And, you know, you mess up and the tower of diapers falls or whatever. And then like the guy is like, Ed, the fuck, if you can't stack diapers, the hell are you going to do, man? You know? And then you're just like, what the hell are you going to do? You know? And you're like, damn. And I wasn't like, my feelings weren't hurt, but I'm thinking, shit, I need to make sure I'm doing this the right way, because I already showed you how to stack the friggin' diapers, man. What are you doing? And then, you know, and I'm like, yeah, that's true. That makes sense. But it's tough sometimes now when you give someone shit, they're freaking out. They're like, I don't do it very I don't do it very often. It has to be a really extreme case where I have to pull someone aside and be like, look, man, you're fucking up here. And I'm still, that's how I say it, right? I'm not going to go, you stupid fucking piece of shit. I'm not going to do that. But like, you know, even then when that's what you're thinking, but you know, you put, look, you're messing up here. You're messing up. Yeah. Even that, people, it's like they need to take a stress break. You know, it's like,
rabbit in the headlights.
And I'm like, stress break. It's the dinner rush, man. These guys need their beers. And it's like, well, I'm on break. And you're like, but it's been empty all day. You know, like, what are you talking about? So it's crazy. It's crazy.
What's that thing about being too hot in the kitchen? Exactly.
Yeah. You know? And the kitchen is tough. It's hot. But I mean, sometimes people are like, oh, it's so hot. I'm like, but it's kitchen. If it's cold, the food's cold. You know, like, come on. So it's tough for sure. And in a kitchen, like, you see all those chef movies and all those top chefs, and they're like psycho. And that's the reason. Yes. That's the reason. That's the reason, because
they're popping pills and
it's just like from the beginning,
all the stuff.
You know, like, for example, right now, things are okay, but sometimes it gets, you know, dinner rush, it'll get crazy, you know, all these to-go orders. And then it's hard to get someone from, you know, like they've got like that one speed. Certain people, they have one speed. And I'm like, okay, there's, you know, you got to make these tacos. Okay, do your tacos. But if you have to make, you know, 5 sets of tacos and, you know, 6 sets of enchiladas and 6 burritos and don't do it at the same speed. Like, let's go, you know, like, you got to have that. you got to have that. Geez, I was just mentioning the word the other day with another chef. We were chatting, but yeah, you got to have that urgency. Urgency is the word.
Sure.
Teaching urgency is tough. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, okay, move. And I'm just like, and I'm like, but that doesn't make sense either, because you're paying a whole crew. And then you're like, everybody move, let me do it. That doesn't make sense either. So
no, it doesn't.
You're like, yeah. So I'm kind of, I'll jump in and I'm helping, and I'm kind of like, so I'm really like, I really try to motivate, but sometimes it's tough. It's definitely tough. And I'm always, I cook, I'm still cooking. I go in, I'll cook and I'll deliver. I'll do whatever I have to do. If it's raining, I'll be like, I'll deliver it. You guys stay here, take care of the, hold the fort. Right. And I'll go deliver. No problem. So it's tough. I mean, definitely. It's tough business, man.
Thing in economics, right? The agent principal problem. Exactly. It's like you can never get the agent to be as motivated as the principal.
No, for sure. For sure.
Exactly. It's like it's
not possible.
Not possible. But I mean, does having a family restaurant change that somewhat? Because like you're all blood, and like you got to pull in for each other to like support the household. Is that
so it
dynamic somewhat?
So there's pluses and minuses to that. So obviously me and my wife, we started this at in a night market like 15 years ago, and or 14, something like that. And that's good. I mean, we're always like supportive and stuff like that. But sometimes at the end of a lot of the times at the end of the day, one of us is taking that home and still talking about these topics. And it's like, hey, I put like a 12-hour day in. I delivered to Nehu. I delivered to Beto. I don't want to say it, but I don't care right now. Like,
okay, yeah.
I'm gonna watch a movie and we're just gonna sit here and burn out. So it's a tough thing to do, because these topics come up all the time. And also our manager here, who we brought from the other store, which we closed a while ago. Is also my sister-in-law, right? So she's been with us for a long time, and that's great. She's doing a good job. But sometimes, you get that sister dynamic, and I'm like, you guys, take it easy. This is a business. Relax. But then, family's with you, and family's helping, family's hustling, so it's okay. But sometimes you get like that time where you're like, oh my God, stop.
Stop
stop talking about it.
So what is the process like going from 1 to 2 restaurants? Like,
so we went 1 to 2. It's pretty tough, man. I mean, we did it twice. You got to have more staff. You're running between. I mean, luckily there's me and my wife, so one of us would man one would man the other. A lot of back and forth, a lot of juggling, and it really depends on your staff. Again, if you have good people, they're trustable, they can run it, it's good. For example, here we had a manager that was with us for a while. We brought him up from part-time cook to full-time cook to head of the kitchen to head manager, and he was really, really good for a long time. And he started dating one of the waitresses, who was really like a snobby, kind of a snooty rich girl, and that, so I mean, they just think
south.
Yes, and him being the manager, I mean, we had to get rid of a lot of people. Long story short, because it was like customers would stop coming to this one. They're like, we go to that one, but they're. And I'm like, really? What?
Like, because they're like the relationship issues, like
the relationship issues, the food. Everyone's cutting corners on food, bad service, and stuff like that. So you really have to have good people. You really have to. Again, that's the same. I'm beating a dead horse here. It's the same. If you have people you can trust, then it's okay. You can go. You can do what you got to do. But if you don't, it's tough. It's definitely tough, because you're always chasing your tail here. You're trying to find ways to motivate someone, with money, with bonuses, with title, with everything. And at the end of the day, sometimes people will just feel, yeah, I'm good, I deserve it. They get that entitled feeling, and then nothing motivates them. And then when the main guys are not motivated, I don't want to say the underlings, the people under them are not motivated. And then everybody just starts to go like, and you go in and you're like, what happens? Yeah.
What happened? I got a question then. Like,
sure.
I mean, obviously going from the night market stand to the restaurant.
Yeah.
And by the looks of things, you're in a corner. Is that right?
Yeah, we're on the main road, man.
Wow, man. I mean, that's a great location as well. So it's like spot, not just a restaurant, it's like a prime location restaurant. Prime location. Obviously, this is scaling things up, but I'm curious, like, if it were just you and your wife again in the night market, and then you wouldn't have the issue of like having to rely on unreliable people, is that profitable enough? Like, because I have heard, and this is all like, word on the street, I've heard there's amazing profits turned by some night market.
Sure, there are.
Like, how does that like economically? Like, is it worth it to just for the simplicity of it, just to keep it to yourself, maybe one person you trust, your wife, whoever, and just do it like a one-man show or two-man show kind of thing?
It is profitable. It is doable. I think you're working with a lot smaller numbers. Like your overhead is like my rent at this place is like 150 grand. Like, so it's pretty high, right? It is definitely doable. One of the reasons though, for me was like, we're trying to build, I don't want to say like legacy, but we're trying to build something that can stand the test of time. We've struggled a lot, but now it's going deep. I mean, well, again, pre 3 weeks ago, it was going great. And even still now it's okay. But what we want to do is I want to build a business that can, like, when I retire, can still keep going. Like I want to, pass it down. So what happens is you either have a business, right? Or you have a mom and pop. So,
okay.
If you have your mom and pop, what happens when mom and pop are 80? They got to try to give it to the kids. And then what happens? The kids, they see mom and pop killing themselves their whole life to keep that place rolling. And then mom and pop are just like, that's your job now. And the kids are like, I don't want to do that shit, So it's like, wow. Yeah. So that's what I'm thinking. Like I still got lots of time. I love it. I love, having the meetings with my guys. I love taking my guys for coffee. I love all this stuff. But when I'm 85, I probably won't want to do it anymore. So you need to build a system to where, like, look at McDonald's. Like, let's just say, aside from the food not being, let's just say, I mean, it's not the best, whatever. But
but just that movie, that's consistent or whatever. Like,
that movie's amazing. Like, so that system, you can put a McDonald's in like a little town in Africa. You can put it in Bangkok. You can put it in Vancouver. You can put it in Paris, and the Big Mac tastes the same, right? So that's the power of the system, right? I mean, is it like going to win any like Michelin stars? Never. But it's going to, sometimes when you're traveling through somewhere and you see all this crazy stuff and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to eat in this airport. And you see a McDonald's and you're like, you're going to probably, you get a McDonald's option. Yeah. You just grab a McDonald's because you got the fries, you got the Big Mac. I haven't had McDonald's in years, but you know what? If I'm in an airport or something, I'll probably, if it's, I'm pretty adventurous. So as long as it's not too crazy, I'll try something else. But if it's like, I'm hungry, I've had a long day,
I don't want to think. For me, I think a lot of like
Big Mac. Yeah.
Like, or even for like 7-Eleven or stuff, like a lot of the reason, or just any chain place, like I've noticed myself a lot of the time, it's not so much like, I don't know what to eat, or I'm not sure if I would dare try that thing that's over there on that corner place that I've never been to before. It's more like my mental reserve. So like, I can now spend 5 to 10 minutes like thinking about what I'm going to eat. Or I can just walk into that place and it just takes that mental process off my mind so I can think about something else.
It's almost like those like the who was it, like Bill Gates or Zuckerberg and those guys who just wear like the same clothes, like their closet has like the same outfit, the same shirt, same pants. They just buy like 20 of them. Exactly. That's freaky. But I mean, they're like, I don't even want to think about what I'm wearing. I'm just going to grab it and then focus. So it's similar to that for sure. Yeah. But I mean, I like food. I love trying places. But for me as a small business guy, I also, when I go out to spend money on food or drinks or something, I like to know the owner. I like to know I'm putting money in this guy's pocket. I'm happy with it. Even if it costs a little bit more than, like, McDonald's is cheap, but I would rather put it in, someone's pocket that, you can pay for this guy's rent. You can pay for this guy's kids' ballet class, or you can, go to McDonald's or something. Right. I mean, again, I got nothing against corporations, but especially at these times right now, that's what I'm doing. So, and I do it most of the time anyway. Yeah.
And I think this podcast is going to become part of that legacy, Ed. So
I hope so, man. I appreciate it.
It's fantastic what you're doing.
Thanks, man. I've had a lot of the local business guys here on the show, and that's pretty fun. They're kind of like, what? Do you want me to go on the show? I'm like, yeah, man, you got some good stuff.
Of course.
Let's chat. This is what it's for.
Another restaurateur. Exactly.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be like some famous guy. I'm just trying to share some stories. And if it blows up, then it's good for everybody. Right. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, bro.
All right, Ed. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. I really hope I can make it in and try some of those cauliflower.
Yeah. I'll have some ready for you when all this stuff is over. We'll come in, we'll do it right with the cauliflower. This was fun though. I'm going to be honest.
I really enjoyed this.
I enjoyed this because you were like what we were saying. We're both podcasters, and the conversation is so flowy. It's fantastic. I love it. I appreciate it, man. And I want to thank you for doing this.
No, I really appreciate the invitation. And I mean, a lot's happening right now. It's a busy time for me as well. In a completely different way. I'm in a completely different line of work, but it's like, there's just a lot on my mind, and I've got stuff I'm doing with my podcast, and I'm just beautiful. But I'm pushing it, and things are growing, and also just very happy to share about my work, and really looking forward to coming by your place, because I think Taiwan's podcasting scene is really going from strength to strength. So I think
I appreciate it. I think so.
Keeping on it.
We just piggyback off each other, right?
That's right. There's other people you got to talk to. You got to have on. I got some other people I can.
Please send them my way, man. I appreciate it. Man. Yeah. So do that. Don't forget to send me all those links. All the links we talked about will be in the description below.
Sure, absolutely.
Please do that. And thank you. And we'll get you.
Thank you so much, Ed.
Thanks for doing the show, and we'll catch you on the next one, brother.
Peace. We will. Okay. Cheers.
Cheers, man.